nice. Even a sip. Have you got any idea what's going on?
I was walking down the street.
Me too. Don't go out today. So I went out. Weeks go by and I don't open the door, and today I go out. But I had no reason. I wasn't even going anywhere. They get picked up the same way?
I've only been here a couple of minutes myself, just before they brought you in.
Does anybody know anything? This isn't a police station, is it?
It doesn't seem so. It's just some building they're using, I suppose.
It's painted like a police station, though. They must have an international police paint. They're the same color everywhere. You begin wishing you committed a crime. Something definite.
You try to sit still. It's no good getting excited. We'll find out soon.
It's just that I haven't eaten since 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Everything gets more vivid when you're hungry. You ever notice that?
I'd give you something, but I forgot my lunch this morning. Matter of fact, I was just turning back to get it when they come up alongside me. Why don't you try to sit back and calm down?
I'm nervous. I mean, I'm nervous anyway. I was even nervous before the war. Excuse me. Is that how you got picked up on the street? Monsieur! Well, Jesus, pardon me for living.
It's perfectly obvious. It's a routine identification checkup.
Oh.
So many strangers pouring into Vichy dispatch. There's probably a lot of spies and God knows what. It's just a checkup on our papers, that's all.
I think so.
I don't know.
Why? There are thousands of people running around with false papers. We all know that. You can't permit such things in wartime. Especially now with the Germans starting to take over down here. You have to expect things to be more strict. It's inevitable.
You don't get any special flavor, huh?
What flavor?
Well, like some racial implication, for instance.
I don't see anything to fear if your papers are all right.
Listen, you are Peruvian, aren't you?
What's the matter with you asking questions like that in here?
What am I supposed to do? Sit here like some dumb beast?
Look, friend, it's no good getting hysterical.
I think we've had it. I think all the Peruvians in Vichy have had it. In 1939, I had an American visa before the invasion. I actually had it in my hand.
Calm down. This may all be routine.
Listen.
I don't know. Maybe he's not.
Well, how about you?
Will you stop asking idiotic questions? You're making yourself ridiculous.
Because I am ridiculous, aren't you? In 1939, we were all packed up for America. Suddenly, my mother wouldn't leave the furniture. I'm here because of some fourth-rate crockery and a stubborn, ignorant woman.
Yes, but it's not all that simple. You should try to think of why things happen. It helps to know the meaning of one's suffering.
Meaning? What meaning? If my mother had...
It's not your mother. The monopoly's got control of Germany. Big business is out to make slaves of everyone. That's why you're here.
Well, I'm not a philosopher, but I know my mother, and that's why I'm here. You remind me of those people who look at my painting. What does this mean? What does that mean? Look at it. Don't ask what it means. You're not God. You can't know what anything means. I'm walking down the street before, and this car comes up beside me, and a man gets out and measures my nose. They measure my nose, my ears, my mouth, and the next thing you know, I'm in this police station. Whatever the hell this bloody place is. And in the middle of Europe, the highest peak of civilization. And you know what it means. After the Greeks and the Romans and the Renaissance, and you know what this means.
You're talking out of confusion.
Because I am utterly confused. Damn it, I want some coffee.
Excuse me, officer. Is there a telephone one can use? I have an appointment at 11 o'clock, and it's quite...
Isn't it marvelous? Isn't that wonderful? He's probably on his way to some German coal mine, and he's worried about breaking an appointment. Oh, people want realistic painting. You see what I mean? Did they measure your nose? Could you at least tell me that?
No, they just stopped me and asked for my papers. I showed them and they took me in.
I agree with you, monsieur. Vichy must be full of counterfeit papers. I think as soon as they start, it shouldn't take long. So try to settle down.
Did they measure your nose?
I think it would be best if we all kept quiet.
What is it? My clothes? I mean, for all you know, I may be the greatest painter in France.
For your their sake, I hope you
Oh,
are.
what a crew. I mean, the animosity.
You would think, though, that with the manpower shortage, they'd economize on personnel. In the car that stopped me, there was a driver, 2 French detectives, and a German official of some kind. They could have easily put a notice in the paper. Everyone would come to present his documents. It's a waste of the whole morning. Never mind the embarrassment.
Embarrassment. I'm not embarrassed. I'm scared to death. Are you embarrassed?
Look, if you can't be serious, just leave me alone.
Gypsy. Hey! Gypsy!
Gypsy?
Now, gypsies never have papers, so why'd they bother him?
In his case, it might be some other reason. He probably stole that pot.
No, on the pavement. I sit down to men. Men make nice. Come, police.
But of course, they'll tell you anything, right?
Well, that's a hell of a thing to say to him. Would you say that to a man with a crease in his trousers?
They don't mind. And in fact, they're proud of stealing. Are you? I have a place in the country where they come every summer. I like them personally, especially their music. We often listen to them sitting around the campfires. They'll steal the eyes right out of your head, right?
Well, why shouldn't he steal? How do you get your money?
I happen to be in business.
So what have you got against stealing?
You trying to provoke somebody, is that it?
Another businessman.
I happen to be an electrician, but a certain amount of solidarity wouldn't hurt right now.
How about some solidarity with the gypsies? Just because they don't work 9 to 5?
I know this one. I've made him go away 100 times. He and his wife stand outside the cafe holding a baby, and they beg. It isn't even their baby.
So what? They've still got some little imagination.
Yes, but they keep whining to the customers through the shrubbery. People don't like it.
You know, you all remind me of my father. Always worshipped the hard-working German. And now you hear it all over France. We've got to learn to work like the Germans. Good God, don't you ever read history. When people starts to work hard, you watch out. They're going to kill someone.
That depends on how production is organized. If it's for private profit, yes, but
What are
if
you
it's for
talking about? When did the Russians start getting dangerous? When they learned to work. Look, the Germans. For 1,000 years of peaceful, disorganized people. They learned to work and they're on everybody's back. Nobody's afraid of the Africans, are they? Because they don't work. Read the Bible, work's a curse. You're not supposed to worship work.
And how do you propose to produce anything?
Well, that's the problem. What is so funny? Yes, that is the problem. How to work without making work a god. What kind of crew is this?
Good morning, Major.
Oh, good morning.
You know me?
No, I serve him breakfast every morning. To tell you the truth, he's really not a bad fellow. Regular RBC, not one of these.
Excuse me, sir. I hate to trouble you, but I'll be much obliged if I can use the telephone for 1 minute. In fact, this business is connected to the food supply.
I'm not in charge of this procedure. You will have to speak to the captain of police.
I beg your pardon.
He's really not a bad fellow. He even comes in at night sometimes. You want to hear him play the piano. Gives himself French lessons right out of a book. He always has a few nice words to say, too.
Does he know that you're Peruvian?
Don't discuss that here, for God's sake! What's the matter with you?
Can I at least try and find out what we're in for? If it's a general identity checkup, that's one thing, but if it...
Don't you give me any more trouble now. Sir, I must ask the reason for this. I'm a combat officer, captain in the French army. There's no authority to arrest me in French territory. The occupation has not revoked French law in southern France.
Speechmaker. Do you think you can carry on now?
You got the idea, Professor. There's neighborhoods they run to when they run away from Paris, wherever they're from. I can get you as many as you can handle. It's a question of knowing the districts, you see. In my opinion, there's a couple thousand in Vichy, all on false papers.
Good. Go ahead then.
Say, Bear,
Yes, sir.
try to avoid getting anybody out of the crowd. Just cruise around the way we did before. I think from one at a time. We wouldn't want to alarm anybody.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I was about to order some coffee. Will you have some?
Yes, please.
And a croissant for the major.
I believe I am first, sir.
Yes, this way.
Thank you. I'm in a dreadful hurry. I was on my way to the Ministry of Supply, in fact.
Amiens?
Amiens. What about Amiens?
July 9th, 40. I was in the 16th Artillery facing you. I recognized your insignia, which of course I could hardly forget.
That was a bad day for you fellows.
Yes, it was. And evidently for you too.
Can't complain.
I told you he was all right. You'll see.
What's this all about?
It seems they're checking on our identification papers.
What's the procedure?
They've just started. That businessman was the first.
They measure your nose?
Measure noses.
Yeah. Right there on the street. I'll tell you what I think. With your permission.
I don't mind you talking as long as you're serious.
I think it's a pair of stones. It just occurred to me. Last Monday, a girl I know came up from Marseille. The road is full of detours. There were crowds of people just carrying stones. She thought a lot of them were Jew.
But I've never heard of forced labor in the Vichy zone. Is that going on here?
Where do you come from?
I live in the country. I don't get it in town very often. There's been no forced labor decree, has there?
Now listen, I'm going to tell you something, but I don't want anybody quoting me. Is that understood? You hear what I said?
Don't make me out some kind of an idiot. I know it's serious.
I work on the railway here, in the marshalling yard. We took in an express freight train yesterday, 50 vans in one. The engine driver was Polish, so I couldn't talk to him. One of the signalmen said he heard people inside.
Inside the vans?
Yes, he came from Toulouse. I heard there's been a quiet roundup of Jews in Toulouse the last couple of weeks. And what's a Polish engine driver doing on a train in southern France? You understand?
Concentration camp.
Why? A lot of people have been volunteering for work in Germany. That's no secret. They're doubling the ration for anyone who goes.
The cars are locked on the outside, and they stink. You can smell the stench 100 yards away. Babies are crying inside. You can hear them, and women. They don't lock in volunteers like that. I never heard of it.
But I've never heard of them applying the racial laws down here. It's still French territory, regardless of the occupation. They made a big point of that.
The gypsy bothers me.
Why?
They're in the same category as the racial laws, inferior.
Unless he really did steal that pot.
Well, yes, if he stole
Hey.
a pot, then...
You steal that pot? You did, didn't you?
No steal, no.
Look, I'm not one of these types. I've slept in cars, under bridges. I mean, to me, all property is theft anyway, so what prejudice can I have against you?
No steal.
Look, you're a gypsy, right? So how else are you gonna live?
He steals everything.
Here. What you just did for stealing.
Never steal. I do tricks. Look.
Excuse me. Have you all been arrested for being Jewish? I'm terribly sorry. I had no idea.
I said nothing about being Jewish. As far as I know, nobody here is Jewish.
I'm terribly sorry. It's only that I was buying a newspaper, and this gentleman came out of a car and told me I must have my documents checked. I had no idea.
So what'd they grab him for?
I don't understand. But take my advice. If anything like that happens to you and you find yourself on that train, there are 4 bolts halfway up the doors on the inside. Try to pick up a nail or a screwdriver, even a sharp stone. You can chisel the wood out around those bolts and the doors will open. I warn you, don't believe anything they tell you. I heard they're working Jews to death in the Polish camps.
I happen to have a cousin. They sent him to Auschwitz. That's in Poland, you know. I have several letters from him saying he's fine. They have even taught him bricklaying.
Look, chum, I'm telling you what I heard from people who know. People who make it their business to know, you understand? Don't listen to any stories about resettlement or that they're going to teach you a trade or something. Wherever that train is going, get out before it gets there.
I've heard the same thing. Are there any tools around
This
here
is
we
so
can use?
typical. We're in the French zone. No one has said one word to us, and already we're on a train for a concentration camp where we'll be dead in a year.
But if the engine driver is a Pole?
So he's a Pole. What does that prove?
All I'm saying is if you have some kind of tool.
I think what this man says should be taken seriously.
In my opinion, you're hysterical. After all, they were picking up Jews in Germany for years before the war. They were picking them up in Paris since they came in. Are you saying all those people are dead? Is that really conceivable to you? War is war, but you still have to keep a certain sense of proportion. I mean, the Germans are still people.
I don't speak this way because they're Germans.
It's because they're fascists.
Excuse me, no. It's simply because they're people that I speak this way.
I don't agree with that.
You must have led a peculiar life is all I can say. I happen to have acted in Germany. I know the German people.
I studied in Germany for 5 years. I took my degree in Austria and
In Austria? Where?
the medical school in Vienna, the Psychoanalytic Institute.
Oh, really?
No wonder he's so pessimistic. He's a psychiatrist.
Where did you live? I am Viennese.
Excuse me. I think it's best not to speak too much in detail.
Oh, yes, certainly. It's only that I was curious to know if you were acquainted with Baron Kessler. He was very interested in the medical school.
Well, of course I've heard of him, but I was never in that circle.
Oh, he's very easygoing, very approachable. He's my cousin.
You're a nobleman.
Yes.
May I ask your name?
Wilhelm Johann von Berg.
Prince von Berg?
Yes. Forgive me, have we met?
Oh, no, but naturally I've heard your name before. I believe it's one of the oldest houses in Austria.
Oh, that's of no importance anymore.
Now, what would they want with an Austrian prince? I mean, you are Catholic, right?
Yes, I am.
But is your title on your papers?
On my passport, yes.
I told you, it's a general checkup on documents. Were you political or something?
Oh, no. I never had any interest in that direction.
Well, there you are then.
Of course, there is this resentment of the aristocracy. That might explain it.
In the Nazis? Resentment?
Oh, yes, certainly.
Really? I've never been aware of that.
Oh, I assure you.
But on what ground?
You're not asking that seriously.
Don't be offended. I suppose our experience has been a bit different. I've taken for granted that the aristocracy is always behind a reactionary regime.
A few individuals, certainly, but not people with a sense of their responsibilities.
That interests me. So you still take seriously the title?
Oh, it's not a title, it's my name, my family. Just as you have a name and a family and you're not inclined to dishonor them, I presume.
That's good to hear. And by responsibility, you mean,
No, I
suppose
don't know, whatever that means.
Please forgive me. I'm simply ignorant of your situation. It should have been obvious they would want to destroy whatever power you have.
I have no power. And if I did, it'd be more than a day's work for them to destroy it. But that's not the issue.
What is it then? Believe me, I'm not being critical, quite the contrary.
But these are obvious answers. I have a certain standing. My name is 1,000 years old, and they know the disadvantage of someone like me is perhaps not vulgar enough.
And by vulgar, you mean?
Well, don't you think Nazism, whatever else it may be, is an outburst of vulgarity? An ocean of vulgarity?
I'm afraid it's a lot more than that.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
You make it sound like they're bad table manners, that's all.
Well, they certainly do, yes. Nothing angers them more than a sign of any delicacy. It's decadence, you see.
Are you telling me you left Austria because of the table manners?
Their table manners, yes. And their adoration of dreadful art. And grocery clerks in uniforms telling the orchestra what music it may not play. Vulgarity can be enough to drive a man out of this country. Yes, I think so.
In other words, if they had good taste in art and elegant table manners and let the orchestra play whatever it liked, they'd be all right with you.
But how would that be possible? Can people with the respect for art go about hounding Jews? Making a prison of Europe? Pushing themselves forward as a race of policemen and brutes? Is that possible for artistic people?
I would like to agree with you, Prince Farnsworth. But the German audiences, I've played there, no audience is as sensitive to the smallest nuance of a performance. They sit there quietly, with respect, like in church. And nobody listens to music like a German. Don't you think so? It's a passion.
Yes, I'm afraid that's true. I don't know what to say.
Perhaps it isn't that kind of person who's involved in this.
Oh, I'm afraid I know many cultured people who did become Nazis. Yes, they did. Art is no defense against this. It's curious how one takes certain ideas for granted. Until this moment, I had thought of art as a... You may be right. I don't understand very much about it.
Were you connected with the medical school?
Oh, no. I'm essentially a musician. In an amateur way, of course.
Yes, yes, you can go now.
Thank you very much.
Sorry to trouble you.
No trouble at all. So my pass the door? Thank you.
Who'd they ask you? Sir! I could have sworn he was Jewish. Didn't you think so?
Yes, I did. You have papers, don't you?
Oh, sure, I have marvelous papers.
Well, it's just in Sister Bell's. Maybe that's what he did.
I wish you'd take a look at them, will you?
Hey, I'm no expert.
I'd like your opinion, though. You seem to know what's going on. What do you think?
Next. You. Come with me. You can read that.
Man, no steel.
You can read that. Go in.
Excuse me? Shh.
Well, what do you think?
Looks good as far as I can tell.
That man did seem Jewish to me, didn't he to you, Doctor?
I have no idea. Jews are not a race. They can look like anybody. You ought to know that.
He probably just had good papers. Because I know people have papers. All you have to do is take one bleeding look at them, and you can tell the stamps are forged. But I mean, if you've got good papers, right? That's true, though. My father looked like an Englishman. Trouble is, I took after my mother. Could you look at mine?
I'm no expert, son. Anyway, don't stand there looking at it like that. Look, if it's forced labor, they might not take you. You're under 16, aren't you?
I think it's a question of one's own credibility. That man just now to carry himself with a certain confidence.
Doctor!
Are you all right, sir?
Were you serious? They actually measured your nose?
Yeah, that civilian with his fingers. They called him Professor. I think you're right, though. It's all a question of your papers. That businessman certainly looked Jewish.
I'm not so sure, ma'am.
A minute ago you were sure, now
Well,
suddenly...
even if he isn't Jewish, it only means it really is a general checkup on the whole population.
Hey, that's right, too. Actually, I'm often taken for a Gentile myself. Not that I give a damn most of the time, but I... How about you? They measured your nose?
No, they told me to get in the car, that was all.
Because actually yours looks a little bit bigger than mine.
Will you lay off? Just lay off, will you?
Can I at least try and find out what I'm in for?
Did you ever think of anything besides yourself just because you're an artist?
Who am I?
You people demoralize everybody.
Who are you thinking of?
Next. Yo, get inside. Sorry, Captain. Never sorry, Captain. But for you, glad you made some fresh. Put it on my desk.
They seem to be keeping the gypsy.
Would you mind if I made a suggestion? You look terribly uncertain of yourself when you stood up just now.
Me uncertain? You got the wrong man.
Please, I'm not criticizing you.
Naturally, I'm a little nervous facing a room full of fascists like this.
That is why one must seem especially self-confident. I'm quite sure that is what got that businessman moving so quickly. I've had similar experiences on trains and even in Paris when they've stopped me several times. The important thing is not to look like a victim, or even to feel like one. They can be very stupid, but they do have a sense for victims. They know when someone has nothing to hide.
But how does one avoid feeling like a victim?
One must create one's own reality in this world. I'm an actor. We do this all the time. The audience, you know, is very sadistic. It looks for your first sign of weakness. So one must think of something that makes them feel self-assured. Anything at all. Like the day, perhaps, when your father gave you a compliment, or a teacher was amazed at your cleverness. Anything that makes you feel valuable. After all, you are trying to create an illusion to make them believe you are who your papers say you are.
I've never heard it put that way before. That's exactly the point. We must not play the part they've written for us. It's very wise. You must have great courage.
I'm afraid not. But I have talent instead. One must show them the face of a man who is right, not a man who is suspect and wrong. They sense the difference.
My friend, you're in a bad way if you have to put on an act to feel your rightness. The bourgeoisie sold French. They let in the Nazis to destroy the French working class. Remember the causes of this war and you've got real confidence.
Accepting that the causes of this war keep changing so often.
Not if you understand the economic and political forces.
But when Germany attacked us, the communists refused to support France, didn't they? They proclaimed it an imperialist war. Until the Nazis turned against Russia, then in one afternoon it all changed into a sacred battle against tyranny. What confidence can one feel from an understanding that turns upside down in an afternoon?
Look, mate, without the Red Army standing up to them right this minute, you could forget about France for 1,000 years.
I agree. But that does not require an understanding of anything. It is simply faith in the Red Army.
It's faith in the future, and the future is socialism. That is what I take in there with me. But warn you, I've had experience with these types. You better round that viewpoint up your spine and they'll break it out.
I misunderstood you. You mean it's important not to feel alone, is that it?
None of us is alone. We're members of history. Some of us don't know it. But you better learn it for your own preservation.
That we are symbols?
Yes, why not? Symbols, yes.
And you feel this helps you? Believe me, I am genuinely interested.
It helps me because it's the truth. What am I to them personally? Do they know me? You react personally to this. It'll turn you into an idiot. You can't make sense of this on a personal basis.
I agree. But the difficulty is, what can one be if not oneself? For example, the thought of torture or something of that sort.
Well, it frightens me, of course. But they can't torture the future. It's out of their hands. Man was not made to be the slave of big business. Whatever they do, something inside of me is laughing because they can't win. Impossible.
So that in a sense, it's almost that you aren't here. You, person.
Well, in a sense, why? What's wrong with that?
Nothing. Right now, it might be the best way to hold on to oneself. It's just that normally one tries to experience life, to be in spirit where one's body is. It's hard to try to be an abstraction.
You think a man can ever be himself in this society? When millions go hungry and a few live like kings? And old races are slaves to the stock market? How can you be yourself in such a world? I put in 10 hours a day for a few francs. I see people who never bend their backs, and they own the planet. How can my spirit be where my body is? I'd have to be an ape.
Then where is your spirit?
In the future. In the day when the working class is master of the world. That's my confidence. Not some borrowed personality.
But don't you think, excuse me, are not most of the Nazis of the working class?
Well, naturally, with enough propaganda, you can confuse anybody.
Oh, I see. I see. But in that case, how can one have such confidence in them?
Well, you have confidence in the aristocracy.
No, very little. But in certain aristocrats, yes, and in certain ordinary people.
Are you telling me that history's a question of certain people? Is any of us an individual to them? Class interest makes history, not individuals.
Yes, that seems to be the trouble.
Facts are not trouble. A human being has to glory in the facts. I warned you. Without a report.
But the facts, dear sir. What if the facts are dreadful and will always be dreadful?
Well, so is childbirth. So is
But a child comes of it. What if nothing comes of the facts but endless disaster? Believe me, I'm happy to meet a man who's not cynical. Any faith is precious these days. But to give your faith to a class of people is impossible, simply impossible. 99% of the Nazis are ordinary working class people.
I concede. It is possible to propaganda,
But who cannot be propagandized? Isn't that the only point? A few individuals, don't you think so?
You're an intelligent man, Prince. Are you seriously telling me that 5, 10, 1,000, 10,000 decent people are all that stand between us and the end of everything? You mean this world is going to hang on that thread?
I'm afraid it does seem unlikely, yes.
If I thought that, I wouldn't have the strength to walk through that door. I wouldn't know how to put one foot in front of the other.
Yes, I really hadn't considered it that way. But you really think the working class will...
They will destroy fascism! Because it is against their interests.
But then, isn't it even more of a mystery?
Oh, I see no mystery.
But they adore Hitler.
How can you say that? Hitler is the creation of the capitalistic class.
But they adore him. My own cook, my housekeeper, the people who work in my forest, the chauffeur, the gamekeeper, they are Nazis. I saw it coming over them, their love for this creature. My housekeeper used to dream of him in her bed. She'd serve my breakfast as though a god had slept with her, in a dream burning my toast. I saw this adoration in my own house. Now that is the dreadful fact. I beg your pardon, but it disturbs me. I admire your faith. All faith to some degree is beautiful. But when I know that yours is based on something so untrue, it's terribly disturbing. I cannot glory in the facts. There's no reassurance there. They adore him. The salt of the earth adore him. Strange. I did not know most of them in there are French. I blockhead said they laughed like Germans. I suppose vulgarity has no nation after all.
Very good, Captain. Good day, Captain.
Did you ask about me?
What can I do? I told you to leave the city 50 times, didn't I? What? Tell me, come on, miss, what did he say?
It's not to work.
What?
They have furnaces.
What furnaces? Stop! What is it?
Hey, I heard the detectives. They came in for coffee just before. People get burned up in furnaces. It's not to work. You get burned up in Poland. All Jews get burned up. That is the most fantastic idiocy I've ever heard of in my life.
As long as you've got good French papers, though. There's nothing about Jew on my papers.
They're going to look at your penis?
You. Come now. I'm a head electrician on the railway, Captain. You may have seen me here. I'm classified first priority war worker. Inside! You could check with Transport Minister Dukan. You try to tell me my business? No, but we can all use advice from time to time. Get inside! Right.
Trust a bloody policeman to play a harmonica at a time like this.
No. That's the patron's son, Maurice. They're starting to serve lunch.
Is that the only guard at the door? If that's the only guard, 3 men can handle it.
I'm afraid I'd only get in your way. I have a weak heart.
You actually believe that, Doctor? About the furnaces?
I believe it is possible, yes. Would you be willing to try something?
Well, what good are dead Jews to them? They want free labor. It's senseless. You can say whatever you like, but the Germans are not illogical. There is no conceivable advantage for them in such a thing.
Good God, man! You could be sitting here and still speak of logic and advantages? Is there really a logical explanation for you sitting here? But you are sitting here, aren't you?
But an atrocity like that is beyond belief.
But that is exactly the point.
You don't believe in it. Prince, you cannot tell me you believe in such a thing.
I find it the most believable atrocity I've heard.
But why?
Because it is so inconceivably vile. That is their power to do the inconceivable. It paralyzes the rest of us. But if that is its purpose, it is not the cause. Many times I used to ask my friends, if you love your country, why must you hate other countries? To be a good German, why must you despise everything that is not German? Until I realized the answer. They do these things not because they are German, but because they are nothing. It is the hallmark of the age. The less you exist, the more important it is to make a clear impression. I can see them discussing it as a kind of truthfulness, after all. What is self-restraint but hypocrisy? If you despise the Jews, the most honest thing is to burn them up. And the fact that it costs money and uses up trains and personnel, this guarantees the integrity, the purity, the existence of their feeling. They would even tell you that only a Jew would think of the cost. They are folks. They are striving for a new nobility, the nobility of the totally vulgar. I believe in this fire. time that they exist, yes, and that they were sincere. You mustn't calculate these people with some 19th century arithmetic of loss and gain. Their motives are musical. And people merely the sounds they play. And in my opinion, when they lose this war, they have pointed the way to the future. What one used to conceive a human being to be will have no room on this earth. I would try anything to escape.
They arrested you. That German professor is an expert. There is nothing Jewish about you.
You may think I'm another refugee.
Yet?
Come with me. Do not be alarmed, it's only to check on your papers. Come. Guard!
Felix, you know me! Felix, my wife will go over
Take me to the office!
There's no need the door! You want to get back? Get in here, you screw.
Major! Major!
Professor, wouldn't it be much simpler if you just asked them?
Are any of you ready to admit, right away, that you are carrying forged identification papers? So in short, you are all bona fide Frenchmen? Are there any Jews among you? You see, Major, there is the problem. Either we go house to house investigating everyone's biography, or we do this inspection.
That electrician fellow just now, though. I thought he had a good point. In fact, only this morning in the hospital, while I was waiting for my turn for x-ray, another officer, a German officer, a captain, in fact, his dressing gown happened to
It
fall
is
over.
entirely possible.
It was unmistakable, Professor.
Let us be clear, Major. The Race Institute does not claim that circumcision is conclusive proof of Jewish blood. The Race Institute does recognize that a small portion of Gentiles...
I see no reason not to say it. I happen to be myself.
Very well. But I would never mistake you for a Jew. Any more than I can mistake a pig for a horse. Science is not capricious, Major. My degree is in racial anthropology. In any case, we can certainly separate the Gentiles in this kind of examination.
Excuse me. I'll be back in a few minutes. You can carry on without me.
Major, you are in command of this operation, and I must insist you take your place by my side.
I think some mistake has been made. I'm a line officer. And this kind of things, and things of this kind, I'm not used to.
You better be candid, Major. Are you refusing this assignment?
I'm in pain today, Professor.
Oh.
They're still taking out fragments. In fact, I understood I was only staying here until an SS officer took over. I'm more or less on loan, you see, from the regular army.
But the Army is not exempt from carrying out the racial program.
orders come from the top. And my report will go the top. You understand me?
I do, yes.
Look now, if you wish to be relieved, I can easily call a general of
No, no. It's all right. I'll be back in a few minutes.
This is bizarre, Major. How long am I supposed to wait for you?
I need a walk. I'm not used to sitting in an office. I see nothing bizarre in it. I'm a line officer, and this kind of business takes some getting used to. What do you see bizarre in it?
Very well.
I'll be back in a few minutes. You can carry on.
I will not carry on without you, Major. The Army's responsibility is quite as great as mine here.
I won't be long.
Major,
Doctor, I try with you.
What about you two?
Whatever you say. But I'm so hungry I won't do you much good.
You can walk up to him and start an argument, can't you? Distract his attention. Then we can
You're
try
out
to...
of your mind. They'll shoot you down.
Some of us might make it. There's only one guard at the door. This district is full of evaluations. You disappear in 20 yards.
How long would you be free? An hour? And then when they caught you, they'd really fill you in.
Please! I've got to get out. I was on my way to the pawn shop. It's my mother's wedding ring. It's all that's left. She's waiting for the money. And there's nothing in the house to eat.
You take my advice, boy. Don't do anything. They'll let you go.
Like the electrician.
He was obviously a communist and the waiter irritated the captain.
Look, I'll try it with you, but don't expect much. I'm weak as a chicken.
It would be better with another man. The boy is very light. If you and the boy rush him, I'll get his gun away.
I'm not going to risk my life for nothing. That businessman was Jewish. You said so yourself.
I did. I thought so. Look, if you have good papers, maybe that's it.
You know yourself the Germans have been moving into the southern zone. You see they are picking up Jews. A man has just told you that you are being marked for destruction.
My dear Prince, you are obviously an Austrian of the upper class. I noticed your nobility the moment you walked in. It's a general checkup.
Then why would they be looking at penises?
There is no evidence of that.
The waiter's boss just...
He overheard two French detectives who can't possibly know anything that happens in Poland. And even if they do that kind of thing, it's not the end either. I had Jews stamped on my passport in Poland, and I was playing Cyrano at the same time.
Really? Cyrano?
Then why'd you leave Paris?
It was an absolutely idiotic accident. I was sharing a flat with another actor, a Gentile, and he kept on warning me to get out. They're terribly vicious with Gentiles who help Jews, you know. But naturally, one just doesn't give up a role like that. But finally, I decided to get rid of a few books that were on the forbidden list of communistic literature. Sinclair Lewis and Thomas Mann, and even a few things by Frederick Engels, which everyone was reading at one time. So we made bundles. And as the flat was on the 5th floor, we'd take turns going down to the street and leaving them in benches or in doorways or anywhere at all. It was after midnight. And I was just leaving a bundle in the gutter near the opera when I noticed a man in his doorway staring at me. At that moment, I realized I had stamped my name and address in every one of those books.
Oh, what did you do?
Started walking and kept going until I got to the unoccupied zone. But in my opinion, if I had done nothing, I might still be working.
Listen to me for one moment. I beg you. There is only one man guarding that door. You heard him say so. We may never get another chance like this again.
If it were so serious, wouldn't they be guarding us more heavily? I mean, that is the point.
That is exactly the point. They are relying on us.
Relying on us?
Yes! To project our own reasonable ideas into each other's heads. It is reasonable that a light guard means the thing is not important. They rely on our own logic to immobilize ourselves.
Oh, really?
Listen to your feelings, not your logic. You've just told us how you went all over Paris advertising the fact that you own forbidden books.
But I didn't do it purposely.
May I guess that you could no longer stand the strain of remaining in Paris, but you couldn't bear to cut your serial life. So your subconscious broke the logjam. Despite yourself, it forced you into the street and saved your life. Rely on what you know, not what you think. And surely you know the danger here.
I played in Germany. That on it, you cannot burn up actors in a furnace. Prince, you cannot tell me you believe that.
I supported a small orchestra. When the Germans came into Austria, 3 of the players prepared to escape. I convinced them no harm would come to them. I brought them to my castle. We all lived together. The oboist was 21. The heart stopped when he played certain tones. They came for him in the garden. They took him out of his chair. The instrument lay on the lawn like a dead bone. I made certain inquiries. He's dead now. And it was even more terrible. They came and sat down and listened until the rehearsal was over. Then they took him. It was as though they wished to take him at exactly the moment he was most beautiful. I know how you feel. But I tell you, nothing any longer is forbidden. Nothing!
Will they let you go?
I suppose. If this is all to catch Jews, they will let me go.
Would you take this ring and bring it back to my mother? Number 9, Richelieu, top floor. Hirsch, Sarah Hirsch. She has long brown hair. Be sure it's her. She has a beauty spot on his cheek. There are 2 other families in the house, so be sure it's her.
I'll be sure. Come, tell me what to do. I'll try to help you. Doctor.
I'm afraid it's hopeless.
Why?
He says he's weak with hunger. The boy is light as a feather. I wanted to get away, not just be slaughtered. I live in the country, you see. So long since I talked to anyone. I'm afraid I came in here with the wrong assumptions.
You were trying to bait me, Doctor. You were wasting your time.
Can I ask you something? Are you religious?
Not at all.
Then why do you feel this desire to be sacrificed?
I ask you to stop talking to me.
Dear man, you are making a gift of yourself. You are the only able-bodied man here aside from me, and yet you feel no impulse to do something? Where do you get this air of confidence?
I refuse to play a part I do not fit. Everyone is playing the victim these days. Hopeless, hysterical. They always assume the worst. I have papers, and I'll present them with the single idea that they must be honored. I'm quite sure that's what saved that businessman. You accuse us of playing the part that the Germans have created for us. I think that is precisely what you are doing by acting so desperately.
And if, despite your act, they throw you into a freight car?
I don't think they will.
But if they do, you certainly have enough imagination to visualize that.
In that case, I will have done my best. I know what failure is. I haven't the personality for leading roles. Everyone told me I was crazy to stay in the profession, but I did. And I imposed my idea onto others.
In other words, you will create yourself.
Every actor creates himself.
But when they tell you to open your fly, oh please, don't stop now. I'm very interested. that moment. I am incapable of penetrating such passivity. I ask you, what is in your mind when you face the command to open your fly? My being is impersonal, as scientific as I know how to be. I believe I am going to be murdered. What do you believe will happen when they point to that spot between your legs?
Nothing to say to you.
I'll tell you what I'll feel. I wish I were him.
Be someone else?
Yes. God, to see them relaxing when they realize I am innocent.
You feel guilty then?
A little, I suppose. Not for anything I've done, but I don't know why.
For being a Jew,
I
perhaps?
am not ashamed of being a Jew.
Then why feel guilty?
I don't know. Maybe it's that they just keep saying such terrible things about us. And you can't answer. After years and years of it. Well, I wouldn't say you believe it. But you do a little. It's a funny thing. I used to say to my mother and father exactly what you are saying. They wouldn't leave Paris. She had this brass bed and draperies and all sorts of trash. Just like him with his Cyrano. I told them, you are doing exactly what they want you to do. People won't believe that they can be killed. Not them, with their brass bed and their carpets. Their faces.
But do you believe it? Seems to me you don't believe it yourself.
I believe it. I only got caught this morning because I always used to walk in the morning before I sat down to work. And I wanted to do it again. I knew I shouldn't go outside, but I get so tired of believing in the truth. Tired of seeing things clearly. I always collected my illusions in the morning. Could never paint what I saw, only what I'd imagined. And this morning, danger or no danger, I just had to get out to see something real, something besides the inside of my head. And I had barely rounded the corner when that little schmuck of a scientist came at me with his fingers going through my nose. I believe I can die.
That is not too bad.
Almost. Yes.
So that one way or another, with illusions or without, exhausted or fresh, we have been trained to die. The Jew and the Gentile both.
You are still trying to bait me, Doctor. But if you want to commit suicide, do it alone. The fact is, there are laws, and every government enforces its laws. And I want it understood that I have nothing to do with any of this talk.
Every government does not have laws condemning people because of their race.
I beg your pardon. The Russians condemn the Jews in the middle class. The English have condemned the Irish, the Africans, and anyone else they can get their hands on. The French, the Italians. Every nation has condemned another because of its race. Look at the Americans and what they do to Negroes. The vast majority of mankind is condemned because of its race. What do you advise all these people to do? Suicide!
What do you advise?
I go on the assumption that if I obey the law with dignity, I will live in peace. I may not like the law, but evidently the majority does, or they would overthrow it. And I'm speaking now of the French majority, who outnumber the Germans in this town 50-1. These are French police, don't forget, not German. And if by some miracle you did happen to knock out that guard and manage to escape, you would find yourself in a city where not one person in 1,000 would help you. And it's got nothing to do with being Jewish or not Jewish. It's how the world is. So why don't you stop insulting others with romantic challenges?
In short, because the world is indifferent, you will wait calmly and with great dignity to open your fly.
I will tell you what I think. I think it's people like you who have done this to us. People who have given Jews a reputation for subversion in this Talmudic analysis, in this everlasting nibbling discontent.
And I will tell you that I was wrong before. You didn't advertise the fact that you own forbidden books in order to find a reason to leave Paris and save yourself. You did. In order to get caught and be put out of your misery. Your heart is conquered territory.
If we ever meet again, you will pay for that remark.
Conquered territory. Where are you going?
Will you do it? Number 9, Richelieu. Please be sure.
I'll be sure.
You are out of your mind. Out of your mind.
Guard! Hey, guard! Guard, come quick, guard!
What is it?
Come quick!
No.
Deutschland, Deutschland, Eva, Eva. What's the boy doing up here?
Sir, this
Get back on the guard. That's impossible. There are sentries on both corners. Captain, I would only like to say that this is all as inconceivable to me as it is to you. Can you believe that?
I believe if you shot yourself. Better yet, if you took a few of them with you.
We would all be replaced by tomorrow morning, wouldn't we?
We might get out alive, though. You can see to that.
They'd find you soon.
Not me.
Why do you deserve to live more than I do?
Because I am incapable of doing what you are doing. I am better for the world than you.
It means nothing to you that I have feelings about this?
Nothing whatever. Unless you get us out of here.
And then what? Then what?
Then I will remember a decent German. An honorable German.
Will that make a difference?
I will love you as long as I live. Will anyone do that now?
That means so much to you? That someone loves you?
That I be worthy of someone's love? Yes! And respect.
It's amazing. You don't understand anything. Nothing of that kind is left. Don't you understand that yet?
It is left in me.
There are no persons anymore. Don't you see that? There will never be persons again. What do I care if you love me? Are you out of your mind? Whatever I have told that it must be lost. You bloody Jews! Like dogs! Jew dogs! Look at him, with his paws folded. Look what happens when I yell at him. Ah! He doesn't move. Does he move? Do you see him moving? But we move, don't we? Measure your noses. Don't we, Herr Professor? And we look at your penises. We keep moving continually. Hand off, you civilian bastard! Get up!
I think you better come with me.
Not a word! Everything stops now. Now it all stopped. Now you tell me. You tell me. Now nothing is moving. You tell me. Go ahead now.
What shall I tell you?
Tell me how there can be persons anymore. I've got you at the end of this gun. He has me. Somebody else has him. Somebody else has somebody else. You tell me now.
I told you.
I won't repeat. Man of honor. What did you say? I won't tell him what you tried just now, or what you advised me to do. Damn decent of me, isn't it? Not to repeat your advice. Were you on active service?
Yes?
No record of subversive activities against the German authority?
No.
If you were released, and the others were kept, would you refuse? Would you refuse?
No.
And walk out that door with a light heart?
I don't know.
Don't hide your hands! I'm trying to understand why you are better for the world than I am! Why do you hide your hands? Would you go out that door with a light heart? Run to your woman? Drink a toast to your skin? Why are you better than anybody else?
I have no duty to make a gift of myself to your sadism.
I do. To other sadism of myself. I have a duty, and you do not, to make a gift of myself.
I have nothing to say.
That's better. Next!
ma panache.
Will you do it? Number 9, Richelieu. Please be sure.
Be sure.
I'm a minor. I'm not 15 until February. Does this apply to minors? I'm a minor. I'm not 15 until February.
Inside.
I could get my birth certificate for you.
Inside.
No.
Inside.
Mr. Boy. Does he realize what's happening?
As much as anyone can, I suppose.
He seems to be watching it all from the stars. I wish we could have met under other circumstances. There are a great many things I'd have liked to have asked you.
Listen to me. I'd appreciate it if you do me a favor.
Yes, certainly.
Will you go and tell my wife?
Where is she?
When you get to the main road, go north out of town. After 2 kilometers, you'll see a small forest on the left and a lane leading into it. Go down the lane until you see the river. Follow the river upstream until you come to a small mill. There in the tool shed behind the wheel.
And what shall I say?
That I've been arrested. And that there's a possibility I might... No, tell her the truth.
By which you mean?
The furnaces, tell her that.
Well, that is only a rumor, isn't it?
I don't regard it as a rumor. It should be known. I've never heard it before. It must be known. Just take her aside. There's no need for the children to hear it, but tell her.
But it would not be easy for me to say such a thing to a woman.
If it's happening, you can find a way to say it, can't you?
Yes, very well, I'll tell her. I have no great facility with women, but I'll do as you say. You're taking rather longer with the boy. Maybe he is too young, you suppose? Oh, they don't stick to the rules, you know, perhaps with the shortage of doctors. No. I'm sorry if I said anything to offend you.
It's all right. It's just that you keep finding these little shreds of hope, and it is a little difficult, to put it mildly.
Yes, I see, I understand. Would you like to talk of something else, perhaps? Are you interested in the art?
It's really quite simple. It's that you'll survive, you see.
But how can you blame me for that?
I don't know how. Well, I blame you, yes. That's how it is, I'm sorry.
I can assure you it will not be easy for me to walk out of here.
I'm afraid it will only be difficult because it is so easy.
I think that's unfair.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It matters to me. Very much to me. I was very close to suicide when they murdered my musicians in Austria. Not that alone, but when I told the story to most of my friends, there was hardly any reaction. That was almost worse. Can you understand such indifference?
You're really quite astounding, you know that?
But if one gives up one's ideals, what is there? What is left?
You are left! With or without ideals, you are left!
Yes, I see, I understand.
Of course you do. So why go on about it? Forgive me, I do appreciate your feelings. But it's difficult to listen to sentimentality, even if it's well meant.
Doctor, I had no intention of being sentimental.
Oh, you must! You will survive! You will have to sentimentalize it. Just a little. Just enough to feel you shared this. It's no reflection on you, but it's enough to make one furious. It is why this agony is so pointless. We are roaches stepped on in the dark. It can never be a lesson. It can never have a meaning. And it will be repeated again and again forever.
Because it cannot be shared.
Yes, because it cannot be shared. To weep and silently thank God when we despair. How strange. One can even become impatient to get on with it.
Oh, yes.
What devils they are!
Yes, they can make death seductive. It is their worst sin. Doctor, I would like to say something to you. You may despise me for it, but it has weighed on my mind, and I would like to say it. I used to dream at night of Hitler. In a great flowing gown, almost like a cloak, almost like a woman. He was beautiful. In fact, even now sometimes as I close my eyes, he comes to me in that way. And I've always had such hatred for him. I lay awake some nights to keep from dreaming. I don't understand it. From the beginning, he was contemptible to me.
Why should I despise you? Not so easy to know who one hates. Listen, don't mention the furnaces to my wife.
I am so relieved to hear you say that. It is only a rumor.
Of course it is. I don't know what got into me. But don't mention it, please. You see, she suddenly got a terrible toothache. It went on for days. I thought I might find some codeine in the city, but it meant exposing myself when we have such a perfect hideout. And in a way it was senseless. I knew it when I walked down the road. You're risking so much for a goddamn toothache. I never would have asked it for myself. I found it loud. So what if she doesn't sleep for a couple of weeks? I knew they'd be after the Jews one of these days. I knew it and she knew it.
But if one loves someone...
We are not in love anymore. It's just too difficult to separate in these times with the children so small.
Oh, how terrible.
But don't mention the furnaces. Please.
Yes, certainly.
At a time like this, to think of taking vengeance on her. What scum we are!
Does she have sufficient money?
You can help her in that way if you like. Thank you. Listen to me. I want you to tell her that I will find some way to get back. That she is not to worry of herself or the children. Tell her that I will try to change everything between us. She was not altogether at fault. I have been intolerant and arrogant. She's not to feel that it was all meaningless. Just say that, can you?
Oh, yes, certainly. Do you suppose if I offered him something? Oh, I can get hold of a great deal of money. But I know so very little about people.
You might feel him out, though. Try it.
He seems rather the idealistic. It could infuriate him against me.
I don't know. You mustn't endanger yourself. It would be stupid.
But what am I to do? Oh, how upside down everything is to find oneself wishing for a money-loving cynic.
Why not? We've learned the fraud of idealism, haven't we?
But can one really wish for a world without ideals? Is that it for you? There is nothing?
Are you asking me to discuss ideals? You dare to speak that word on this planet again? Are you an idiot or a liar? Next!
Next.
You hear me?
You want you to sit there? You can leave that. Leave it.
Come on.
I would like to be able to part with you in friendship. Is that possible?
Princeton, in my profession, one gets the habit of looking at oneself quite impersonally. It is not you I'm angry with. In one part of my higher-minded is not even this Nazi. I am only angry that I should have been born before the day when man has accepted his own nature, that he is not reasonable, that he is full of murder, that his ideals are only the little tax he pays for the right to hate and kill with a clear conscience. I am only angry that knowing this, I still deluded myself. It was not time to truly make part of myself what I know, and to teach others the truth.
There are ideals of another kind, Doctor. There are people who find it easier to die than stain one finger with this murder. People for whom everything is not permitted. Foolish people and ineffectual, but they exist. I swear it to you. And will not dishonor their tradition. I ask your friendship.
I owe you the truth, Prince. You will not believe it now, but I want you to think about it and what it means. I have never analyzed a Gentile who did not have somewhere hidden in his mind a dislike, if not a hatred for the Jew.
That is impossible! That is not true of me!
Until you know it is true of you, you will destroy whatever truth can come as atrocity. Part of knowing who we are is knowing we are not someone else. And Jew is only the name we give to that stranger. That agony we cannot feel. That death we look at like a cold abstraction. Every man has his Jew. The black, the yellow, the white. It is the other. And the Jews have their Jews. And now above all, you must see that you have yours. That man whose death leaves you relieved, that you are not him despite your decency. And that is why there is nothing, and will be nothing, till you face your own complicity with this, your own humanity.
I deny that. I deny it absolutely. I have never in my life said a word against your people. Is that your implication? That I have something to do with this monstrousness? I have put a pistol to my head. To my head.
I'm sorry. It doesn't really matter.
It matters to me! Very much to me.
Prince, you asked me before if I knew your cousin, Baron Kessler. Baron Kessler is a Nazi. He helped to remove all the Jewish doctors from the medical school. You were aware of that, weren't you? You must have heard that at some time or another, didn't you?
Yes, I had heard it. But you see, I had forgotten it. He was my...
Your cousin. I understand. And in any case, it is only a small part of Baron Kessler to you. But it is all of Baron Kessler to me. When you said his name, it was with love. And I'm sure he must be a man of some kindness, with whom you can see eye to eye in many things. But when I hear that name, I see a knife. You see now why I say there is nothing, and will be nothing, when even you cannot really put yourself in my place, even you. And that is why your thoughts of suicide do not move me. It's not your guilt I want. It's your responsibility that might have done something. Yes, if you had understood that Baron Kessler was in some small and frightful part, doing your will, you might have done something then. With your standing, and your name, and your decency. Aside from shooting yourself,
never save us.
Next.
Why did she mix underwear and underwear? Please, say nothing to me. Go. Go! Go!
What will happen to you?
There's nothing to say. Go!
I wasn't asking you to do this.
You don't owe me this. It's not you. Not you at all.
Then, where's your pass?